Welcome to our task's first annual Earth 2100 conference. We have come here today because we are concerned for the future of our planet and because we are trying to come up with solutions for taking care of it. Today, we have the honor to hear from a man who has had this goal in mind from a very young age. He graduated from Millbrook University in 1959 with a degree in biology. He then received his bachelor's and doctorate in biology from Yale University. In 1965, he started his career as a tropical conservation biologist in the Amazon of Brazil. For 14 years, he directed the conservation program at the World Wildlife Fund in the US and served as Assistant Secretary for Environmental and External Affairs for the Smithsonian Institution. He then counseled the Secretary for Biodiversity and Environmental Affairs and later became Chief Biodiversity Advisor for the President of the World Bank. He has also been appointed Chair of the Independent Advisory Group on Sustainability for the Inter-American Development Bank, and is Senior Advisor to the President of the UN. As Chair of the Yale Institute for Biospheric Studies and former President of the American Institute of Biological Sciences, the United States Man and Biosphere Program, the Society for Conservation, he has also served on advisory councils for the Reagan, Bush, and Clinton administrations. In addition, he has published the Global 2000 report for President Carter, which happens to be the first ever global projection of extinctions. It's safe to say that this man's expertise in biology and sustainability is superlative, which is why a new wasp species discovered in Costa Rica in 2004 was named after him. No, I'm not kidding. The Nation Biodiversity Institute gave this new wasp species the name of Polycerdus lovejoyi. He has been awarded the Tyler Prize, and in 2009, he won the BBVA Foundation Frontiers of Knowledge Award in the Ecology and Conservation Biology category. That same year, the National Geographic Society appointed him Conservation Fellow. His most recent achievement was this past June as the winner of the 21st Annual Blue Planet Prize for the International Environmental Award. This prize is awarded each year to individuals or organizations that make outstanding achievements in scientific research and its application in helping to solve global environmental problems. I'm sure I could say more about this man and his achievements, but we have to be out by 4:30. Lucky for me, this knowledgeable man is now a university professor of environmental science and policy at my school, George Mason. As a proud George Mason student and intern here at our task, it is my honor to present to you Dr. Thomas Lovejoy.
Well, thank you, Giovanna, and thank all of you for being here at what inevitably will be the beginning of some important change in how we all relate to this planet and its ability to nurture us in the future. It's also a real delight to be doing this in partnership with Jerry Barney, who in 1980 led the Global 2000 report for the President, and which in fact, was one of the important things leading up to the Earth Summit itself in 1992. So at that summit, which was quite an extraordinary meeting, attended by more heads of state than any other meeting in history, two important conventions came into existence, one addressing climate change and the other problems around biological diversity. And so that was 20 years ago. And it would be a mistake to say that nothing has happened in the intervening 20 years. But without any question, the nations of this planet have failed to act at the scale and with the sense of urgency that this topic demands. And in the most recent Rio Plus 20, the intergovernmental negotiations can only be characterized as disappointingly weak. So we're obviously dealing with your future here more than my future, which is why it's so exciting to have all of you here as a start of what I believe in the end will become a movement of your generation to demand of the rest of society the kind of action that should already have been taking place. And I'm only going to give you one example. So as you heard, my specialty is biology and biodiversity. And it is abundantly clear that 2 degrees of global warming will be too much for ecosystems. It will be a planet, if that happens, it will be a planet without tropical coral reefs. And 1/12 of humanity depends on coral reefs. And we're already seeing other signals that confirm that very adamant statement I've just made about 2 degrees being too much, not the least of which is the dieback of coniferous forests in North America all the way from southern Alaska down to southern Colorado, because milder winters mean more pine bark beetles overwinter, and a longer summer means they get in one more generation. So in most of those forests, 70% of the trees are dead. You can see that just going from Denver Airport to Vail. So lest you think that that's sort of a inevitability when I then go on and tell you that, you know, if the nations of the planet really wanted to stop at 2 degrees, emissions have to peak in 2016. But, and this is a really important point, not just about this particular topic, for everything there are buts, things that society can do differently. And in this particular case, since it turns out that maybe 40% of the excess CO2 in the atmosphere is from 3 centuries of destruction and degradation of ecosystems over the face of the planet, deforestation, degradation of forests, degradation of grasslands, agricultural systems which leak carbon, it is in fact quite feasible to do ecosystem restoration at a planetary scale and pull some of that CO2 back out of the atmosphere so that it doesn't stay up there warming the Earth beyond points that make no sense at all. So for just about everything that we face as a challenge, there are buts, things that can be done. This is the beginning of this effort. Think ahead for what kinds of steps you would like to participate in getting society to undertake. I'm pleased to say that George Mason is interested in hosting the conference a year from now. And I regret that I have a major family commitment today that takes me away as soon as I've finished speaking. But Jerry has my email address, and anybody who wants to be in touch with me, please do not hesitate to do so. So let me end by telling you a story about the Earth Summit itself. So I was on the U.S. delegation, and I thought I was invited to the opening reception. So I went out with 2 Brazilian colleagues, and when I got to the door of the conference center, something was wrong with my credentials. And my Brazilian friends said, well, we're not going to go in and leave you behind. Let's go around to the other entrance of the conference center, which seemed about halfway to Paraguay, and get you in. And as we were walking around this huge, huge conference center, all of a sudden, one of the Brazilians said, "Follow me," turned hard left, and we went in through the kitchen right into the reception. So there are two lessons from this little story. One is never take yourself too seriously. But the other is, whatever the problem, there has to be a kitchen. And may you find many. Thank you very much.